Good evening and welcome to today's second episode of the People to Understand the Government Beta. Of course, it's a bridge and a merger, I would say, that merges the people with the government and bridges the gap between the government and the people, gets to explain government policies to the people and governance. We'll take a look at the face-off between the federal government and the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi. It seems the heat is so much on the Labour Party's presidentials too. APC's Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president-elect. Let's find out more about this on the program today. We'll be right back. People and governance will be taking a look at the alleged insurrection, federal government and OBI face-off of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, to speak up over the audio of the conversation he alleged has ranged or sparked lots of issues. Lai Mohammed addressing the media in London on Monday. According to him, he needs to draw the attention of Nigerians to the recent leaked audio of conversation between the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Peter Obi, and the cleric. Believing Christians that this is a religious war and they should support him. The minister said that in the aftermath of the leaked audio, it means there was that conversation, but it was manipulated. Obi needs to come out and make a clear which part of it was doctored. Is it the beginning, the middle, or the end, or is it the yes daddy part of it, or it was based on religion and ethnicity from the outcome of the presidential elections? He said you will see that Obi got his votes mostly from areas where he comes from, and his really Nigerians are more divided than ever, and people are being heard commenting either based on their religious position or ethnic origin. Many otherwise respected commentators visiting to London, he said it was to defend the legitimacy of the just concluded general elections and to correct the imbalance in the skewed narrative which had pervaded the air on the polls. He said, like this history, I put it right, like I just take a pause. That information or that statement that the just concluded presidential and the governorship election to be part of the conversation. Tell us, do you think, or do you go by this assertion by the Minister of Info, or just to tell the people what really took place in the just concluded elections, that everything was amazingly okay? Which of course the president, being the APC leader, wouldn't have had another person from another party take potential seat. And then the Minister for Information and Culture was sent to London to, of course, tell the people over there in the history of Nigeria. One would like to also ask, at what point would you say the elections was totally free and fair when it was marred by so many irregularities? Asking a question. If we had so many pockets of irregularities here and there, would you say that was the freest of all elections in the history of Nigeria? Meanwhile, that simply meaning that they mustn't follow the electoral guidelines in the conduct of elections and, of course, collation of results. And the federal government, interim government issue has been looming for a while now. And, of course, you know that on what the DSS came out to say, talking about interim government. And then I remember to, of course, impose. And just after the allegations were made, all fingers are now pointing to Peter Obi, including truly, he was the one planning for the interim government. And just a few days after, we heard a leaked audio between Peter Obi and the country and outside the country as well, and different people as well. This is an audio Peter Obi said, okay? This is an audio Peter. The federal government passing through the Minister of Information and Culture is now asking him, where on this audio has been doctored or has been fake. Now, if you say it's fake, it simply means it never existed. If you say it's doctored, they're asking him to come to clarify issues. So it looks like it's a tough one, being that he has a case in court, of course, to defend his result by Bernard Titus. Bernard Titus was the collation officer for the just concluded presidential election for Labour Party. So today he's in the position to, a quick one, let's get to him. Good evening, Bernard.
Good evening to you. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Apologies. I traveled and
That's
my
not
way
a
back
problem.
has
That's
been
not a
a whole lot
problem.
of traffic. Yeah. So my apologies once again. But then we are here. Let's get it all done.
All right, so a quick one. I've already just briefed the people on, of course, the issue between the federal out. I know that you've gone through the leaked audio that came out some time ago, which sparked so many reactions. Of course, we have dispatched to people around the world. So now, Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information and Culture, has been in London to, of course, talk about the just concluded elections in Nigeria. And then it was fake and doctored. He's saying if it was fake, that means it never existed. If it was doctored, which part was doctored? Was it the Yes Daddy? Was it the is a war against Christianity or in Nigeria? Now, DSS came out to warn Nigerians against an alleged plots by some key players, some bigwigs in politics here in Nigeria to impose an interim government on Nigeria. If you are, like you say, the key players that are plotting this interim government, go ahead and arrest them. But right now, it seems all fingers are being pointed at the Labour Party presidential candidate. It seems to look like he's a threat, a big threat to other opposition parties' issues. The big question is, why do you think this whole thing is happening?
Okay. Thank you very much. Leaked conversations of Peter OBI, our principal, and that of the very high respected preacher. From Peter OBI antecedents, it is very obvious that um, the opposition party, or can I say the mainstream political party, the APC, Nigerian attention from the already global mess that is lumping the party.
Mm.
Nigerians are very focused on the judicial process. You see, let me also bring this totally rotten and collapse. Why? Because the system itself is already decaying, and you see the Nigerians are mainly focusing on the broad perspective of what the justice system of Nigeria.
Invite Nigerians to be part of the conversation by calling the phone number displayed on the TV screen. Of course, the conversation today is about the face-off between the federal government and the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi. So we got our guest back on track. Let's listen to him. Great concern. And from what our guest was trying to say, he says they are trying to divert the attention of Nigerians. Let's get to find out more from him. Well, sorry for that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. You're back.
Okay, so like I said earlier,
you said it's trying to. They're trying to divert the attention of Nigerians.
App that will be sworn in how many days ahead? That has never happened in the history of this country. This is the worst ever election conducted in the history of this country.
And take you back to the last.
I can hear that and clear.
I'll take you back to the last words of the Minister of Information and Culture. Elections was the freest of them all in the history of Nigeria.
You see, it's like the name implies, Lai Mohammed. He's a liar.
I don't want to go there.
And communication. Leave the entire Nigerian broadcasting network, all the channels put together, and traveled all the way from Nigeria to DC, Washington, and tried to that their principal could not answer any single question. It was still in that Chatham House in DC, Washington, where the INEC chairman Mahmoud Yakubu told the world that the election will be as free as possible. Chairman stating saying that
Electronic
it
collation was not
wasn't a
mandatory.
mandatory. Yes. Just imagine the mess of the entire policy. They cannot even he cannot even follow suit what the policy of the INEC state. He's confusing himself. He's prepared by the electoral guideline to conduct election. And here you have the same man again coming out to tell Nigerians that it wasn't compulsory. Come on, come on. See, I think Lai Mohammed should be held accountable for leaving the whole Nigerian broadcasting network and all allies broadcasting television houses in the country to go to look into the word treasonable here. What exactly is treasonable? Than compared to let me bring your mind back. I remember the same FFK, the Minister of Labor, the of the interim government. The videos are out there by the channels, interviewed them by the my opinion, there is absolutely nothing treasonable. Everybody has the freedom of speech to make utterances at when possible, at any time. And if you go through the common
all right, I think we're having some real network issues, but network shouldn't play with us. We've got some issues to pull through this afternoon. Well, if you're just joining us, and this is the program, The Law of the People and Governance and Still Candidate, the leaked audio has sparked reactions all over again. Before it looked like Nigerians were just the ones interested, but now the federal government is so much interested in it, calling out Peter Obi to come and, of course, talk about the audio. Those are the issues we are talking about. Don't forget that I already asked you a question. Do you think that according to the words of Lai Mohammed in Washington, D.C., who is waiting to talk to us? Welcome back, Mr. Bernard.
Thank you very much. So Lai Mohammed should be held accountable, one, for boycotting the Nigerian television and all television media houses. So if you claim that this is the fear, the fiction in the issue of Nigeria, yes, that is an appalling. That is an appalling on. I don't know what word
on the just concluded presidential election and court cases that have followed, including the threat of an interim government, which we just talked about. Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so I said most of these issues are bordering on the just concluded presidential election and court cases that have followed, including the threat of an interim government, right? Now, do you believe that the threat is true and real? Some people are of the opinion that it doesn't even exist, that they are coming.
100%. See, let's put this in clear perspective. In a civilized and a democratic country, when election is conducted, it happened in Ethiopia, Ghana, Namibia, just these are neighboring small countries. In all matters concerning illegal issues with the presidential candidate must be concluded before swearing in. That is one. Two, there is no, it's unconstitutional after conducting election, and some members of the APC are still the people.
Okay, so why do you think that APC are the ones clamoring for interim government? Of course, you know that if an interim government the
videos are out there. The videos are out there. The vice president of the current who is currently the VP of the nation of the APC, and even the FFK, Femi Kayode, were the first to prepare, can I say, a soft landing? Let me use that word. In order for them not to lose a seat because of the issue that is already surrounding the presidential elect. a drug baron with an with the US 45 over
Him being a drug baron is something we need to talk about. Like it's something we need to set a day to talk about. Of course, there have been these issues way back, even before he contested the elections, and I haven't really had a strong comments, maybe debunking those claims or something. And we're still asking these questions.
He has not debunked. He has not debunked any of this claim because these are true evidence. I have no. Probably when you invite me to the studio, I'm going to bring certified copies for you to go through it. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, some clowns who call themselves Senior Advocate of Nigeria, trying to turn the table around.
Okay, but if the threat of interim government is real, shouldn't the DSS be more concerned with finding out who's responsible than stoke up tensions when they discovered the alleged plots?
The DSS is already compromised.
Why do you think so?
They know those who are already, they were the one who alerted the country, the Nigerians talking about it. They are compromised. It is still members of the APC that are busy talking about the issue of interim government, which is unconstitutional.
Well, you know, the DSS didn't mention names, though they said they have identified some people behind the threat. But many observers have said this. Mohammed accusing Peter Obi of making inciting comments to stir up a rebellion. Do you consider these issues to be actually so?
That is 100% correct. What Eli Mohammed,
okay,
members of the members of the spokespersons of the APC are trying to do, like I earlier said, the leaked video that we all saw. Is there anything criminal about it? Is there anything treasonable about that video or that audio that we all listened?
But he said it was doctored. Do you think the audio was actually doctored?
Well, if my principal says so, that's correct.
The question Lai Mohammed, the federal government is asking through the Minister of, I believe that is where the issue comes from. They feel it is dividing Nigerians, okay, discussing war against religions and ethnicity. I mean, calling it a war against Christianity is something to worry about. So if he actually did say it was a war against Christianity, if it was true, if it was actually true that he made the statement and it wasn't doctored, don't you think
which is not true?
Okay, that's according to your principal and you. We're going to find out much about that when he comes back online. Okay, so for the studio lines are open, and of course we are going to take your reactions once it comes in. But let's get back to our guests. All right, Bernard, go ahead. You talked about the video being fake, or the audio. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I believe we're going to work that out. I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly. I don't know if it's from your end, but I can hear you.
Continue to.
Okay, Bernard, can you hear me?
So yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. On social media are completely false. David Ejunibo itself has condemned it, has debunked such.
Okay, well,
and Peter Obi himself has also tentatively say that is not correct.
We're having little network hitches, and then we're going to work that out. But before then, just a soft reminder, you can be part of the conversation by calling us. There's a big question on ground. Do you think this election was the freest of them all in the history of Nigeria? Of course, you might want to trace it back to the past elections, the one that had Obasanjo, the one that had Yar'Adua, the ones that had Goodluck Jonathan, and of course the one that had the current president of Nigeria, M. Buhari, on sit, and of course linking us back to the one that just had the president-elect in the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That wasn't part of the sitting government. It wasn't part of the government at all. If it actually did come from an observing body that is neutral, and is truthful, maybe it would have been true that it was freest and maybe to some certain extent believed. But for election which Nigerians saw live feed, voter suppression, saw voter apathy, saw a whole lot of issues, saw vote buying, election that we saw results not being collated accordingly, elections that we saw results being different, the one at the server, INEC server, being different from the one from the polling unit on paper, results. Minister, at what point was this election that just finished the freest of them all? At what point did election in Lagos State that saw Sanwo-Olu as the governor return back to seat, would I say, sent out of different polling units or barred from entering polling units because they wanted to vote for Brothers Vivo of the Labour Party? So if you are not APC, do not vote. This is the election that the Minister for Information and Culture calls the freest of them all. They had in I would say 90% of the polling units in Akwa Ibom State, the governorship elections that saw Pastor Omoyino emerge as the next governor of Akwa Ibom State, 90% of people say the election was actually a free and fair process. In other states, we had such comments, but the case was different in many states, especially during the presidential election, where irregularities, all the issues generated, all the hindrances, all the security issues, all the you know, the call out on INEC being compromised and some security of personnel being compromised and all of that, then the Minister of Information and Culture goes ahead to say this was the freest of them all in the history of Nigeria. That's a big comment. Yes, a big comment, I would say. It would have been commendable and it would have been a nice one if it was actually true, but one would like to ask so many questions with all the reports we had that up till today we haven't had some of these issues being clarified, being explained, being debunked. Elections that saw Nigerians through a tough or in the history of Nigeria. I think that particular comment really sparked so much reactions. As to what extent was the elections free and fair? Well, let's not forget that the issue on ground is actually the face-off between the Labour Party candidate Peter Obi, presidential candidate Peter Obi, and the federal government about the politicians in Nigeria to plot an interim government and impose it on Nigerians. Now, this is where the whole issue started from, and all fingers, I would say, fingers from the federal government level are pointing to the Labour Party presidential candidate. I would wonder, is this because he has Ahmed Tinubu as the next president of Nigeria, which people think is even against people? I think there are so many questions surrounding this particular issue, and Nigerians really need an answer to this. Well, you could still join the conversation. The phone number is displayed on your TV screen. We'll go on a short break. Up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian, from issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
One truth not often told. We paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa. telling the African story.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by cross them. Our governors have to share police power, organized and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord.
With legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country.
All right, welcome back. It's still the program, The Law, the People and Governance here on Spectrum Television. We'll just do a quick one before we round off the show for today. So, two questions for him before the show.
Rachel.
Okay, so just a quick one. We have less than 5 minutes to round off the show. Remember that Peter Obi has been accused of campaigning on religious sentiments and ethnic lines, right? And you saw the Labour...
The APC presidential elect and all the Islamic fanatics did campaign on basis of religious principle. So there is also a debt by the president elect and the VP, the founder of Boko Haram himself, where they sat in a conference still on the issue of religious sentiment. You know, across all religion, now his own is classified as an ethnic or religious base. It's quite appalling. We saw all what they did. So we never campaign on any issue, belief or anything. The campaign tour as we did. So if they have a problem with it, they should better deal with their problem and what is going to be for them.
Feel it may truly have been Peter Obi in the leaked audio. If that is the case, do you think he erred by describing, and the last question, Peter Obi supporters have also been accused severally of being too hostile, especially on social media, and others would say maybe Peter Obi fed off their support base. Just merge those two questions together.
So a quick one. They are classifying us as obedient as being hostile on social media. See, Rachel, about any falsehood that are trying to label against Peter Obi will dismantle any issue of falsehood. That is one. Two, well, Peter Obi's credibility has nothing to do, and his integrity has nothing to do with the leak video. So for us as an obedient across the world, we remain obedient, and that's our standing. That's our position. We are not dragging anything with it. We are waiting for who will before them. If the court fail to give the decisive decision on this matter.
Okay, if the court finally declares Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the true winner, won the elections.
Like I told you, I said in a quote that I presented earlier, I said, when the citizen of the justice system is corrupt, what will happen to the body politics will be entirely rotten and collapse. The Nigerian institution of the judges, so the court system in Nigeria is compromised, is failing. Nothing. The institution is not. When we wrote WAEC that year, they say 5 subjects is compulsory for you to gain admission in the higher institution, and they say English and math becomes very. You must make 25%, including FCT, and the court want to throw that off and make us feel we know nothing. They better watch and see what's going to happen if they fail.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. I believe you're done talking.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. So most of the questions being asked on the show today. All right, I believe it's gone already. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Sorry we couldn't take calls, or if you couldn't join us, I'm sorry about that. Elections are over. It seems so many things have been uncovering, and there are so many issues to talk about, so many reactions already, and of course, these are the issues we tend to deal with on the program, the law, the people, and governance. So we'll catch you again tomorrow, still on the .ng. Good evening.